Welcome to What's Up Punks, where we take a look at the myriad of subgenres under the umbrella of punk. Why? Well, mostly because I found it fascinating. The themes, the influences, and how they influence each other. Now, looking at this sexy form of mine, you would not be out of line to say that my feet are planted very firmly in cyberpunk. You are not wrong. So I'm probably the last guy on the planet to talk about Solarpunk. Before we get into that thing, I went into this show with a few bullet points. Number one, I was going to cover the big two, not until down the line, so no cyberpunk and no steampunk for a while. Second, this show is going to be about the niche of the niche. I want to spotlight the cousins and little brothers of punk that are usually overshadowed by the big two. Third, when talking about punk against a future landscape, as defined by nihilists, the future is amazingly nihilistic with some awesome tech and 80s synth, or a return to the pioneer spirit of the Wild West, dragging up little jewels of society from either the frozen or irradiated wasteland. And then I found Solarpunk. Yeah. Okay, so what is Solarpunk? Well, put the Roddenberry naivete, solar panels, advanced biotech, some Art Nouveau, and blend with a self-important blender and you get the basics. If you can't tell, Solarpunk ain't exactly my thing. However, I will try to be more civil. Okay, the main novelty of Solarpunk is that, I quote, future you'd want to live in. Yeah, not me, princess, but teach their own. Okay, I think we all knew I was lying. Let's be real here. In the not-too-distant future, humanity has found a way to live in harmony with the natural world. Not in domination, not in control, but in equilibrium. Focusing not on large megacities, but on smaller communities. The aesthetic of Solarpunk merges the practical with the beautiful. The well-designed with the green and wild, and the bright and colorful with the earthy and solid. Solarpunk can be utopian, just optimistic, or concerned with the struggle en route to a better world. But the one thing that Solarpunk can never be is dystopian. Besides a positive mentality, Solarpunk is more about workable technology and less about the fantastical, i.e. steam or diesel, as the name would suggest, using solar energy. Solarpunk, historias ecologias y fantásticas en un mundo sustentable. I totally did not pronounce that correctly, but basically it's a Brazilian anthology of solarpunk literature whose opening lines were roughly translated in an Australian article in 2014. Now imagine space sailboats driven by solar radiation, production of biofuels via nanotechnology, and the advent of the photosynthetic human. Outside of the technological advances, Solarpunk is very much about the near future. To that end, conservation and using existing infrastructure as part of it. Decking out existing buildings with Solarpunk additions using the old or current world, and building off it to create a new world. As a post-apoc fan, I will admit I got respect for that. But high ideas and impressive tech is not a subculture make. Let's talk aesthetics. I've mentioned Nouveau earlier. For those not in the know, Art Nouveau basically is a style of decorative art, architecture, and design prominent in Western Europe and the US from about 1980 to the First World War, and characterized by intricate linear design and flowing curves based on natural forms. It works very well with Solarpunk, giving it a grown, lived-in vibe that's recognizable but doesn't overlap with a similar vibe to cyber or biopunk. That also has a grown world vibe to it. Basically, organic like a plant, not organic like meat. Oh, trust me, Squire, this will not be the last time we see Giger's art. Not by a long shot. Solarpunk also takes a few cues from the Asian and African aesthetic. It's a little bit superficial. For one thing, Solarpunk loves Chinese lanterns, which makes sense. It's a pretty but also economic way to bring light, especially if you bump it up with some Solarpunk tech, like making the lamps bioluminescent, or adding solar panels to the lanterns so they can power themselves during the day and then be used at night. But what Solarpunk really brings from the Asian aesthetic is space economics. Basically means maximizing the amount of space we have to use, which I've always really liked. Pretty and shiny is all nice, but we only have so much space and we better use it right. See The Colony from the remake of Total Recall if you want a very not Solarpunk example. As for the African influence, that comes in the clothing, which makes sense as Solarpunk color scheme works well with that kind of fashion. And in a world where the sun takes more precedence in society, you adapt accordingly, and take your cues from society that's south of the equator. And thank God not Florida. Well, unlike its contemporaries, where finding a start point is as simple as straining out a man's small intestine. Not that I've ever done that. Certainly not to make balloon animals. Anyway, Solarpunk is a little easier. The grand radical future escape came from Tumblr. Yeah, Tumblr actually did some good for mankind. It's honestly not that surprising. In the past, subcultures found their roots where the niche decided to congregate, and social media platforms are those places now. Still a little surprised it's Tumblr. But what do I know? I sell a Vero account. Yeah, give that a few years, young bloods. That's what we in the business call a sleeper. Well, I half joke. While it's a discussed idea, you could go back around 2008 on various platforms, an article citing steampunk as an influencer. However, Miss Olivia Lewis's Tumblr, Land of Mask and Jewels, posted in 2014, is where a lot of the earlier discussions got started. And I'll admit, some of my favorite examples of Solarpunk. But maybe I'm just a sucker for a mohawk that imitates the rising sun, Chinese lanterns, and stained glass. I can't say that I subscribe to the notion that this is a future you'd like to live in, but I will admit, looks like a nice place to vacation. Now you might be saying, these are just themes. Where's the meat and potatoes? Where's the Blade Runner, Bubblegum Crisis, Akira, Deus Ex, Shadowrun? So I can really sink myself into this world and see what's really for me. Yeah, about that. There's not much. Solarpunk is still super young. I can't even really say it's out of its teenage years yet. Hell, I can't even say it's in its teenage years yet. So there's nothing I can really point to and say quintessentially, yeah, that's Solarpunk. It's like anime. You know it when you see it. However, I can point you in the correct direction. My recommendations. If you're looking for something free, there's the Solarpunk Press, a collab of short stories and podcasts of the beginning year one-esque stories of Solarpunk future. Personal favorite, The Flying Camel Goes to Tigerwood. If you're looking to shell out $8, I would have to recommend Sunvault, stories of Solarpunk and eco-speculation. As the name would describe, it's a book of short stories and poems dealing with Solarpunk and eco-speculation, which is basically green sci-fi. I don't own a copy, so I can't give a personal favorite. However, I will say it has one of the most interesting covers I've seen since the House of Leaves book. Here's some honorable mentions. The Sandman spin-off, The Dreaming. Cain and Abel. Yeah, Cain, Abel, and DC Comics is just a whole thing. See Linkara for more on that. Visits various utopian realms, including Ecotopia, a high-tech world based on windmills and solar towers, blending into the countryside. The works of Hayao Miyazaki. While created before Solarpunk movement began, it has shaped the movement, and honestly, I would watch the absolute shit out of a Miyazaki Solarpunk movie. Probably the only thing with punk in its name that ever gets an Oscar. Real life Solarpunks. Now, anyone who's working on making that green eco future a reality is a Solarpunk. Whether you're making your own rooftop garden, working on some badass Solarpunk tech, or trying to pass legislation, you are a Solarpunk. However, if you're looking for something a bit more physical, may I direct you to a botanical garden in Toluca, Mexico, mixing Art Nouveau style, stained glass, and repurposed buildings, giving you a brief glimpse into the world of Solarpunk. Now, how do I feel about Solarpunk? At first, I questioned how its setting could produce stories that were interesting, as my only real exposure to something close to utopian would be DS9. Forgetting, though, that your world might be clean, pretty, but people are still shit, and they have problems. So a more character-motivated story and less of the world driving the plot. Now, through the course of making this video, I have experienced more Solarpunk, however, it's just not my thing. Now, this isn't the Gen 1 punk in me, or even the cyberpunk in me that just can't see a bright, beautiful future anymore. It's just not my thing. I'm a fighter and a scrapper. I like metal grinding against metal, blood in your mouth, and everyone working at an angle against burning neon and deep shadows. Basically, kid, you're just too damn pretty. But I can't wait to see what, pardon the pun, Solarpunk grows into. Now, what does Solarpunk need to mature further? Oh, sweet zombie Jesus, move away from just art and written stories. Start a webcomic, an anime, or something live action. Grow. I read a very long, still kinda recent at the time of making this video, Wikipedia editor's discussion about whether you actually exist. And whether or not just to delete your entry from Wikipedia no less, or just sell you into an offshoot of cyberpunk, which, from my research, you are not. Hell, I will pitch you an idea right now. A slice-of-life story taking place in a dying tree apartment. Some of the tenants, probably the newer ones, want to let the tree die because they can just grow a new one in like 3 months anyway, but the tenants that have been there longer want to fight to keep the tree alive, because the place has so much history to them, and our point of view character just moved in and is stuck in the middle between these two opposing sides. Add some slice of life BS. If you've seen a slice of life anime, you know what I'm talking about. And a photogenic side character to lust over, and boom, you got yourself a series. Just add water. Before I leave you today, a question that popped up a few times in my research was whether or not Solarpunk was indeed punk. Punk, stemming back from its earliest incarnation, has been what popular opinion would call pretty. In fact, the main punk aesthetic could be called the rejection of what most of the world considers pleasing or beautiful to one's own taste. I say to one's own taste because I find the following super freaking cool and beautiful. So one could say that this future of greens, deep browns, flowing curves, while a noble sentiment, might be punk in name only. I would have to say
3 hours later.
No. The rebellious nature of punk is in Solarpunk. Not rebellious against a world that has marginalized or forgotten you, it's rebelling to reject the world as it is, and choosing one for yourself. Rebelling not just because, but rebelling against the idea that there is no way out. That the future can't be anything other than the bleak tinderbox to watch burn. And that your ideas about a better future are naive. Even when a sexy outer god currently possessing a robot, as the guy saying it. Anyway, that's my answer. Put your own in the comments and let's get a discussion going. Well, this has been What's Up Punk, Solarpunk. Next week we'll be going deeper to the Chaos Theater, to a little watering hole I like to call Rantasmagoria, to talk about some sexy vampires. Not in a Jesus Franco way, unfortunately. But in 2 weeks, we'll be back here to take a look at Biopunk. Till next time, keep your POC pack near, your goggles clean, your solar implant in the sun, and your hard suit ready. And keep on being a no-good, dirty punk. You know it, you love it, here's the spiel, let's do it. Hit subscribe to be my subscriber. Hit the bell so you know when I've actually posted stuff. Still no idea why those two things are separate now, but whatever. And of course, hit like to appease the algorithm gods. All fear and praise. On a list of whatever YouTubes, I am also probably not going to get any ad revenue for these videos, so if you would be so kind, check out that Patreon and the GoFundMe. Links in the description.